Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again with another This Time It's Personal video. This is the series where I get to talk about me, I get to talk about things behind the music, I get to talk about my personality and what happens when I'm not doing the thing that I'm doing on YouTube. And this is something that both you guys have constantly requested. You're always asking me questions that don't necessarily relate to music. But I also think this is a useful thing because I think it's actually very cool to know that the people that you enjoy the content of and the people you learn from, we're all normal people. Your teachers, your heroes, they all still put their trousers on one leg at a time, you know? We are all normal people. That was always very inspiring to me when I've got to meet all of these famous people just to see that they are just like me. Just like you, we're all the same. So you can go out and achieve all the things that they achieve because you're just like them. So today's question, I've been asked this many times and a lot of you probably already know the answer to this one, but it's about games and more specifically video games. So the question of course is, Levi, are you a gamer? And well, I'm 30 now, so that's kind of prime age for growing up with first generation of proper home, what I consider proper home consoles, post video game crash consoles. My parents were really into video games. I remember them getting the Mega Drive the day it came out. My mum was really, into Sonic. She really enjoyed playing Sonic. My dad had a little group of friends that would get together and play games on SNES, and I remember him being really into hockey games for some reason, despite the fact I don't think he ever watched any hockey. But yeah, they would meet up and play games, and he actually would import consoles from time to time. He had, of course, a SNES, SNES over here, but also imported like an NTSC one so he could play some of the American games, which was how I was introduced to things like Final Fantasy, which one of my all-time favourite game series. But yeah, totally exposed to games. He also got a Dreamcast and GameCube, and he was, if something was happening on the gaming scene, he was kind of ear to the ground. But for some reason, they both fell away from that, and it's not an interest that either of them have anymore. But I kept that interest, actually. I remember spending a lot of time alone as a kid because we were relatively isolated where we lived, and I played a lot of Mega Drive. I was much more of a Mega Drive kid than I was a Nintendo kid, a Sega kid over a Nintendo kid. Not because I don't love Nintendo games. Again, I mentioned Final Fantasy, which is very much a Nintendo franchise up until 7, of course. So I loved all of that, but actually, I played a lot of Streets of Rage, and I played a lot of Golden Axe and Revenge of Shinobi. I named those because they came on one cart. I have a cart with all 3 of those on. But also, I played a lot of Toy Story on Mega Drive, and I played a lot of Aladdin. There were a ton of great games on Mega Drive that I have very fond memories of. So yeah, and as I got older, I took that interest through. I followed through with that interest. I remember playing a lot of PlayStation, of course. There's lots of weird games that I don't think people really remember for PlayStation that were cool ones to me. Even like, people probably remember Pandemonium, but I remember games like MDK and just tons of games. We were constantly getting games to try, which was kind of cool. I don't even know where they came from, to be honest, but yeah, lots and lots of games. Essentially though, what happened was there was a point in my life where I knew that I needed to get serious about my education and really focus on getting somewhere, or else I was just going to end up like my parents, and that was not what I wanted. So I actually took quite a long gap from gaming. I actually even got rid of my TV. I had nothing. The only media that I could consume was guitar educational stuff, and I took that really seriously, and that meant that I missed out the second half of PlayStation 2 all the way through to the end cycle of PlayStation 3. I skipped all of that in my gaming life, and then when I had finally graduated university and I'd got my own place in London, I was like, well, cool, let's dip back in. That was a lot of fun because it meant that I got to catch up with all the games that I'd missed out on. I got to go through, I don't know, like the Arkham games or the Assassin's Creed games, tons of games like that, catching up with Resistance, and it's just so many games. And if you have an interest in, seeing what I've done in that area, you can check out my PlayStation profile. I'm a PlayStation gamer. My PlayStation profile is Miss Treater. So if you go on like PSN profiles, you'll be able to go on there. And the first thing you'll notice is that I'm a trophy hunter. That is what I do when I play games. It's goal-oriented play. What have I got? Let's have a look. 75. So I've got 75 platinum trophies, which is totally a lot, but it's not an astronomical amount, and I'm always chipping away at more. There's some that I'm, this far away from, and then I just move away from because the last trophy I can't be bothered with. Yeah, when it comes to playing games, I'm very much about single player content. I don't play online. I'm into stories, and I'm into gameplay, and I'm into strategy. I'm into outsmarting the system, if it were, gaming the system, understanding, learning, and adapting kind of thing. Whereas I always found that competitive online play is more about high level skill and outclassing someone in reflexes, and I just don't have the time to put into something like that in order to get really good at it. Strategy games were always really interesting to me. RPGs were always really interesting to me. Survival horror was always really interesting to me. If you want examples of all those, of course, RPGs, JRPGs, I'm gonna of course list like the Final Fantasy games, 4 and 6 being my favourites. I actually really like 8 as well, which people don't really like me to admit. Strategy games, you could think like I don't know, Command and Conquer or Theme Hospital, which would be RTS strategies, but I also like turn-based strategies, so I was really into XCOM. I think the remake of XCOM they did a couple of years ago was fantastic. And then, of course, survival horror, which is a big one for me. Resident Evil, I remember playing that when it came out, and watching my dad and vividly remembering the dog coming through the window and everyone in the room shitting their pants. So, and his frustration at the end of the game, not being able to work out how to beat the tyrant. And then that was more my series moving forward. I went through 2 and 3 and then Code Veronica, and like that series is very much me, really into that. Dead Space and survival horror, totally something that I was really into. Anyway, I am going somewhere with this. So the point was, after a long gap in my gaming like that, what I found was I was looking for the itch that I had from a younger age, and that's when I watched Indie Gamer, the movie, which features Super Meat Boy, Fez, and what's the other game? They talk about Braid in there a lot. I feel like there's another game in there. Those two really stood out to me. And Super Meat Boy in particular, when I bought that, it just reminded me of being a kid. And then I had this realization that, oh, cool, there's tons of people my age that are now making video games, and they're making video games that bring back that nostalgia of being a kid. So when you look through my PlayStation profile, again, Mistreater, what you're probably going to notice is I play a lot of indie games. I play a lot of retro games. I'm really, really into indie and retro games. I love Ed McMillan's games. If you look at this arm, it's covered in, I've got Super Meat Boy all around my wrist, and I've got the Binding of Isaac all around the forearm. I've got more Binding of Isaac up here. Absolutely love Ed McMillan's games, but plenty of examples in that retro style. I put a ton of time into, I don't know, games like Mercenary Kings. I thought was great fun, and actually a game from last year was probably my game of the year, believe it or not, was Hollow Knight. I played that for an ungodly amount of time. I absolutely loved that game. So yeah, really, really into the retro and indie style of things. Having said that, I've always got a huge back catalogue of AAA games that I need to work my way through. I'm currently playing through the Resident Evil 2 remake gradually, piece by piece. It's just hard to find the time, to be honest. Waiting behind that, I've got just so many. What would I have? God of War needs to be played. The last Tomb Raider needs to be played. I've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey that needs to be played. What else have I got waiting? There's a good 6 or 7 titles on my shelf that still have cellophane wrappers on, and that's a long-running theme. I've still got games like Alien Isolation, which is still on my shelf with a cellophane wrapper from the day it came out. I've not had time or the balls to play it. So yeah, really, really into video games. And I game pretty much exclusively on PlayStation. I don't game on my PC. It's totally set up to game on PC, but I like to separate work here and play. Living room, big TV. So yes, that would be that. And occasionally I stream, very occasionally. I do some like Overcooked streams with my pal Sue. So, you can see stuff like that. But yeah, let me know what are your favourite PlayStation games, what are your favourite video games, what are your favourite retro games, because that's really me. Let me know in the comment section below. The other area, and this is a much, much newer side to my life, but I'm having a lot of fun with this, was I started buying board games that are licenses of my favourite video games or film series. So I got like all of the Prodos games, Alien vs Predator things, and that was an opportunity for me to learn how to paint miniatures. I got the Fallout game. I got what else have I bought? I've bought a ton of stuff like Dark Souls, and yeah, that's I've got the Resident Evil 2 board game that was on Kickstarter, and like there's 300 miniatures or so that I'm gradually painting in that. I'm having a lot of fun with that, because that again takes me back to that couch co-op thing. I can have people over and we can have a social thing where we sit around a table and have some fun. And in recent weeks, and I literally mean weeks, it's been maybe 3 weeks now, I've also started playing Magic the Gathering, which I'm having a ton of fun with. I'm really enjoying that. Again, it's an opportunity to spend time with friends, but also go down to my local shop. Like tonight is Friday, so I will go down and play some Friday night Magic. And it's, again, like I say, an opportunity to meet some new people, shake some hands, have a conversation, and you have no idea how refreshing it can be to have a conversation with someone and not talk about guitar, and not talk about people I know, not gossip about things. You know, it's just nice to, you know, almost practice those social skills of talking to new people. So yeah, Magic, that's a lot of fun, and well, it means I can collect more things, right? Cards. So yeah, Magic. Anyway, yeah, let me know, guys, what are you playing? Let me know in that comment section below. And lastly, I should say a huge thank you to these people over here. These are some of my supporters over on patreon.com. They bring you these videos. They make these videos better. These are the guys that allow me to spend money on things to improve the quality of these videos, or even to buy things to make new videos. As you saw maybe yesterday or the day before, I put up that video, the rolling bender. That's a really cool piece of kit that there's no way I would have been able to justify buying something like that to try out and make a video on if it wasn't for these people. So thank you so much for your support, guys. It really does mean a lot. If you want to check us out on Patreon, you can do so by clicking this button up here. Subscribe by clicking this button down here, and you'll see 2 more of my videos here and here. Yeah, you won't have any luck catching me playing online, so don't think about adding me on PlayStation and adding me to a game of Fortnite or whatever it is the kids play now. But by all means, if you want to add me on there and make a new friend, I am happy to do that and get to know more of you and your gaming lives. So much love, guys, and I will see you for another video soon. Laters.